when you're about to leave your body and you're going, oh my God, am I going to die? You know, there's that point of decision where you either snap back, you don't go, or you relax and realize that, wait a minute, I'm healthy, okay, this is just a feeling, and this happens in just, you know, that amount of time. And you let go, and you just begin to rise above your body and move around. And, you know, you freely move about the cabin. So I began experimenting as I continued to have those experiences, and I started flying around the neighborhood. I didn't go too far because I didn't really know what all I could do with it at the time. But it was fun. Then the following year, I was shortly after my 8th birthday, actually. I was laying in bed at night. This is the first time it happened. All of a sudden, I wake up. I thought it was asleep anyway. So I wake up, and I'm actually up in the corner of my room, watching my bed, or my physical body in the bed. As I watch it, it climbs out of bed, opens my bedroom window, climbs out, walks across the backyard of the house next to us to a field. It's about a 10-acre pasture. Again, we were right on the outskirts of the rural area, or country area. Climb the fence, and I start walking out into the field. As I walked out into the field, my observer's watching all of this, of course. I start rising up into the air. Well, I look up, and I see this orange cigar-shaped cloud that is stretching clear across the pasture and probably double on either side of it. The thing was huge. So I continue floating up in the air, and as soon as the body that I'm watching begins to enter the perimeter of the cloud, my observer becomes one, and I wake up in bed the next morning. I can't wait to go back, because I had this feeling that it was going to happen again. I had no idea what it was, only that it was really cool. So this happened probably a couple of dozen times over the next 2 years. Still not knowing what had happened, not having an experience of what was going on inside the cloud. I'll fast forward a little bit and I'll come back. It wasn't until just before I moved to Arizona that I was walking through a metaphysical bookstore in Muncie, Indiana. Book falls off the shelf, opens on the floor. Anybody ever have that happen to you? Okay. I look at it, and I honestly don't remember the title, but I think it was Bud Hawkins' Aliens Among Us. I picked it up. First paragraph my eyes were drawn to, paraphrase, basically says, in the late 50s and early 60s, the most common contact he experienced in the Midwest was the orange cigar-shaped clouds. Question? I love when that happens. Anybody have little triggers that they pay attention to in your awareness to verify or validate what's happening? A sneeze is one of them. So thank you. Oh, it worked for you, it worked for me. Okay. So, now, didn't really have a whole lot happen after that until later on in my high school years. I was a brainiac. I got bored really easy. And so in that, I don't know if any of you, probably some of you folks my age, experimented a little bit when you were younger. Well, I did too, and so I found out that not only, I kind of had, I know Terrence McKenna's work. Terrence kind of talks about how the psychotropics allow you to enter into worlds that you may or may not enter into. And Baba Ram Das, then Frank Albert, went to India, took a vial of pure LSD, gave it to the guru, and said, "What can you tell me about this?" He drinks the whole thing. And he says, "Oh, that's Western man's way of experiencing the Eastern spiritual world without the rigors of meditation. So you can take heaven by storm, but you got to learn to walk in the front door eventually. So that sets you up. It just lets you know that it's there. Now, does it destroy brain cells? I think that's propaganda. However, I do know some folks, my cousin being one of them, that really had some difficulties and wasn't able to handle it. He ended up getting 51 shock treatments and turned in, and by the end of that, he was kind of like a vegetable. Very slow, just wasn't who he was. So those kinds of things can happen, and it's very unfortunate that our then, and not quite so much now, although it still happens, but the medical profession had no clue, Western medicine had no clue of the Eastern realms or anything, any other spiritual awareness or other dimensional awareness or anything like that. They were very clinical, by the book, very concrete in their understanding, and if things were outside of their realms, they tended to incarcerate.
So they get used by the CIA as a form of truth serum. They tested people on it.
There was a lot of things that the CIA did, and I am aware of them, and all I can say is that it opened them up to the realms as well, so their understanding is congruent with the rest of it. It doesn't, there's uses and abuses of things. It all comes out in the wash. So, I went to college, started on a pre-med program, tested out of 5 quarters, and the first quarter I dated a girl all through high school and broke up with her because I didn't want to suffer my integrity, because I was going to school, I figured I was going to be promiscuous, and I didn't want to have any guilt trips, and I didn't want to injure her. At least that was what my thinking was. So after the first quarter, I really realized that I missed her. So I went back to ask her to marry me and found out that she was already married. And so my heart just kind of got ripped out. And I didn't feel like there was much for me in the world at that time. Hell, I was a teenager that, was a emotional basket case at that point. So I went back to school, and I got down on my knees, and I prayed to know what truth is, not realizing what was going to happen. But I vowed that if I could know it, I was willing to die for it, if necessary. So a week later, I come back from class, and part of my process, at least 2 or 3 times during the week, was to lay down across my bed, my dorm room bed, put an album on first, then lay down across my dorm room, and just meditate for a while.